Thousands of foreign diplomats live in the United States representing their countries. It's a job that includes parties, perks, and free passes, including immunity from prosecution if they break the law. As we discovered in a piece that aired on 2020, there's a dark side to diplomatic immunity, and journalist John Shaw has literally written the book on Washington diplomacy.
Most diplomats live in beautiful residences. They have nice cars, they have staffs that take care of their food needs, take care of their gardens. They don't really have a lot of the burdens of day-to-day life that other people have.
Which brings us to the most privileged of perks for the diplomatic corps. Behind the iron gates and security cameras, accusations that some diplomats are abusing their domestic workers, in extreme cases enslaving them, and avoiding any kind of punishment.
I feel angry.
You get angry?
I feel so bad.
Marishu Bauanen worked as a maid in this swanky Manhattan townhouse for a boss who worked in a building that symbolizes international power and prestige, the United Nations headquarters. He was the Philippines' top diplomat to the UN from 2003 to 2006, Ambassador Lauro Baja. Marishu claims that during her time here, the work conditions were so harsh, she contemplated suicide. The Philippine ambassador's private residence, she says, was equipped with a security system, used not just to keep burglars out, but to keep her in. And did you clean the whole building?
Yeah, I cleaned the whole building, the first floor, the second floor, and the third floor, and the basement.
And how much did they pay you for that?
For 3 months, they paid me $100.
$100?
$100.
She has filed a lawsuit against Ambassador Baja, accusing him of forced labor and slavery. He's denied the allegations, but at the same time, he's hiding behind the ultimate privilege of the embassy crowd, diplomatic immunity.
The diplomats know that they cannot be held accountable for their behavior. They could rape, they could exploit, they could abuse their domestic worker, and they are immune to civil and criminal jurisdiction of U.S. courts.
ACLU attorney Claudia Flores says diplomatic immunity, originally designed to protect both foreign and American embassy staffs from bogus or political charges, is now being used as a get-out-of-jail-free card by diplomats who exploit their domestic workers.
There is no question in my mind that what we are talking about in some of these situations is slavery.
And joining me for more now is Ivy Siriopis of the Asian American Legal and Defense and Education Fund. She's also the lawyer representing one of the domestic workers profiled in our piece. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on. Is this something that's just happening once in a while, or is there concern that this could be that domestic workers who are brought here to work for diplomats are in fact being abused as a matter of course?
It's definitely a source of concern that this is not an isolated incident or that it happens fairly rarely. The 4 women that were profiled in the piece are simply a sampling of domestic workers that are exploited in all sorts of ways, whether they classify as trafficking survivors, wage and hour violations, or other forms of exploitation.
So diplomatic immunity is pretty blanket when it comes to criminal charges. I mean, there really is no way at this point for the United States government to prosecute criminally these people for abuses. But civilly, there may be some loopholes, right? You may be able to, and that's what you're trying to do.
Well, actually, there are different levels of diplomatic immunity depending on the title, the status, and what happens is that the consular official or diplomat may assert immunity, and then the court at that point decides whether or not immunity is called for in that situation, and therefore whether the court has or lacks jurisdiction in that case. Mm-hmm. And as for the criminal versus the civil, that depends on any number of different circumstances. And in this case, representing our client, I'm representing her civilly, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to not necessarily find a loophole, but there are exceptions to immunity depending on the different international laws and agreements that account for.
Well, there may be exceptions, but have they been successfully exploited in the past? Do you know of any domestic worker who's been able to successfully sue someone who has, in fact, asserted diplomatic immunity?
There have been cases. Cases in California, Park v. Shin, for example, where immunity was not found to be an obstacle to the survivor asserting some kind of claim against the consular official in that respect.
But the major problem seems to be that what happens is once there appears to be some kind of serious case or a court case, it's very easy for the diplomat just to return home.
Oftentimes, yes.
And once they return home, what are your options then?
Well, certainly, given the stature of the different officials, it certainly helps to bring media attention to the cause as well as to generate some kind of interest abroad in the home country, and create some kind of pressure in order to make sure that the governments, whether the host government or the destination government, somehow work out some kind of agreement in order to make sure that the different parties do answer for the claims that are alleged.
And I think what's important here as we close is that these are not parking tickets. These are things that, we always hear about, they get away with parking tickets. But these are serious crimes.
Absolutely. Human trafficking, labor exploitation. These are individuals who are charged with protecting and ensuring the following of international laws. And here, inside their very own homes, they're exploiting domestic workers who take care of their children, wash their floors, clean their homes. The hypocrisy is a travesty.
Ivy, thank you very much.